Alright guys, in today's video we're talking the PS5 once again. We are focusing on new PlayStation 5 games that will be announced and revealed as soon as next month. Apparently this is something that Sony has been planning for quite some time as a response or a counter, if you will, to Microsoft's big July first-party game showcase. This is something I've been speculating for quite some time, and it seems that we now have a report from a credible source claiming that this is exactly what Sony plans to do. And so the big question we're left with, because I think most of us do believe this, we've been hearing about an August state of play for quite some time. The big question we have is, how big is this state of play going to be, or this event, whatever it is? Is it going to actually have some big game announcements? And I have a good feeling, based off of the reasoning, that Sony decided not to reveal some of these games at the June reveal event for the PS5. I think that they're going to be pretty significant, at least based off of this information. So this is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. If you could do me a big favor, make sure you hit the like button to help the video out and show your support. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future content, and hit the bell notification icon so you can be notified immediately anytime a new video goes live. So we're going to talk about this report. We're going to go over all the information here, and then I'm going to give my thoughts on it. So let's get into it. It says, if you thought Sony's initial PS5 volley last month was everything the company had leading into next generation later this year, think again. New reports indicate that Sony, quote, quite smartly, unquote, held back certain first and third-party PS5 game announcements so that it could use them as a response to Microsoft's July event. Those announcements will reportedly be part of an August state of play that will see even more PS5 games announced and shown. Sony hasn't yet confirmed the August event. Eurogamer's Tom Phillips said that July and August will be a, quote, tasty Microsoft Sony announcement sandwich, unquote, with the Microsoft first-party event coming on July 23rd and a PS5 event to follow next month. In a follow-up tweet, he expressed his excitement for the show and reminded fans that, quote, PlayStation plans to fire back in a state of play soon after, unquote. Phillips's first tweet came last week on July 1st before Microsoft officially confirmed the July 23rd date for its event, lending credence to his knowledge about what's coming. So I wanted to point that out because some people are wondering, can we believe Tom Phillips? Does he actually have the inside track on this stuff? And I think that, yeah, he does. He correctly talked about the July 23rd date, and he's also talking about the August state of play, which is something we've been hearing for quite some time. It seems like it's not really that big of a secret that Sony has been planning this, but the big secret is, what exactly did Sony hold back here? So it's interesting because I'm looking at these tweets, and the one that really catches my eye here is the one where an individual on Twitter asked Tom Phillips any idea on the scope of this state of play. And I think this is a very important question to ask because state of play has been kind of, I don't want to say hit or miss, but it's one of these things where you can tell Sony has always kind of been trying to figure out what exactly should state of play be. The first few state of plays we got, it seems like they were okay. They weren't like mind-blowing. I don't think they would be considered like events. We see some smaller games, maybe some VR games, and then at the end there's maybe like one significant reveal, like a new trailer for one of their big exclusive games or something like that. And that seemed to have worked okay for them. But then we saw more recently how Sony decided with their state of play streams that they were going to show off gameplay, like significant chunks of gameplay for their upcoming AAA exclusive games, that being The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. And I think that worked out really well for them. I think that was a really smart thing to do, and I 100% believe that will continue into the future. But the big question is, if this is going to be the first state of play that focuses on next generation and PlayStation 5 games, and there are apparently going to be new game announcements, does this mean we could potentially see a major format shift in what state of play is, and maybe alter our expectations of what Sony will do in the future when it comes to having state of play streams that actually focus on game reveals and announcements? To me, it seems like this could be the biggest, most significant state of play we've seen so far, and it really could end up being something that could be equivalent to an event. I think that's very possible considering this information. But Tom Phillips, you know, he's emphasizing that Sony in his opinion, smartly held back first and third party stuff. So then the other question outside of how big is this state of play going to be is what exactly can we expect to be revealed here? And so in my opinion, there's at least one game here that is more than obvious, and I would be just completely shocked if it didn't show up. That game being the Silent Hill soft reboot. It's not a complete reboot, but the Silent Hill soft reboot that's been talked about for quite some time now. A lot of people were expecting Sony to reveal it during the PlayStation 5 event in June, and they didn't. And so there's a lot of people who immediately assume that, oh, I guess that means this was not real and it's never going to happen. It was just made up the entire time. But you have to understand that the individual who talked about this, who gave us this information in the first place, they did emphasize that Sony may actually save the announcement, just like we're hearing right now. And this is something, again, that I've speculated about, and I've been saying for a little while now that we've known for basically months what Microsoft's plans were. Microsoft was just, transparent, and they just came out and said, yeah, our big event is going to be sometime in the summer, in July, most likely. And when Sony heard that, that they probably were like, okay, we have no idea just how big or successful this event is going to be. And so just to play it safe, just to make sure we don't show everything at one time, we're going to save a few cards, hide them up our sleeve, and use them as a counter if necessary. And the truth is, I think Sony, if they wanted to, and I made this abundantly clear many times before, but it's worth repeating, if Sony wanted to, at this June PlayStation 5 reveal event that we had, they could have shown off a lot of stuff that was in really early development, right, from some of their bigger teams that we just didn't hear much about. And they're saving that stuff because it just doesn't make sense to show everything at one time. But talking about Silent Hill, we have a little bit of an update. And so it says, horror leaker Aesthetic Gamer has touched base on the long-rumored new Silent Hill game, claiming development on the project started in early 2019. And just to silence any doubters, the series is 100% coming back. While we couldn't go into many details on the project, Aesthetic Gamer was quick to reaffirm his previous comments that a new Silent Hill game is definitely on its way and that it's a Japanese-made title. In other words, it's not being outsourced like the past few games. And so this is exactly what he said in his tweet. 100% Silent Hill is coming back. That I can say with certainty and have been since the start of this year. A Japanese-developed Silent Hill game started development at the beginning of 2019, a bit of planning and work done at the end of 2018. The two most likely times will be in August/September. They're talking about when we can expect Silent Hill to be revealed. So he's saying August or September is most likely. August, there is a planned state of play in response to Microsoft's July event with new announcements. September, there's a thing planned around Tokyo Game Show. So I don't know if he's trying to say here that Sony has something planned for Tokyo Game Show. I'm sure they do. So he might be hinting at something there, maybe another small event that Sony could do. And then he finally says, I don't know specifically, I'll tweet when I do. And so the one thing that Aesthetic Gamer continues to let us know is that he is not 100% certain that this is a PlayStation 5 exclusive, but the rumors seem to suggest, if they're to be believed, and they've been pretty prevalent, they haven't gone away, they've been persistent, I should say. It seems to suggest that this is a collaboration between Konami and Sony's Japan studio, and they're the ones basically working on it, and it will be a PlayStation 5 exclusive. And so if this is the case, it would make complete sense that Sony would want to hide this in their back pocket and save it as a big counter to whatever Microsoft shows during their July event. And so now that we have covered Silent Hill, what else can we expect? Well, the truth is, I only have one other game that comes to mind that would seem, I guess you could say, somewhat likely that Sony would save in response to Microsoft's event. Now, we've known for quite some time that Guerrilla Games has a second team that is basically the size of another AAA team, right? It's a very big team, and they're working on another project. We don't know what this project is. What we do know is that sometime in 2018, veteran developers from Ubisoft, who actually worked on Rainbow Six Siege, a modern military shooter, first-person shooter, tactical shooter, they were hired onto this second team that Guerrilla Games has. And It's been widely speculated that they're working on a Socom reboot, and I believe the individual on Twitter known as Tidix, and it's questionable whether or not he's really an insider, but he did say at one point, I don't know when, it was quite some time ago, he said the last he heard, if the information he heard was correct, is that this team is working on a Socom reboot of some sort. Now, it's also been speculated that this second team could be working on a new Killzone, which makes a lot of sense. We haven't seen that series since, the PlayStation 4 launched, and there's a lot of people who would like to see it. And the other thing that also seems somewhat likely is that this team apparently is working on a multiplayer project related to the Horizon series. So we know that Horizon Forbidden West was officially revealed and announced. We know that it's going to be hitting sometime in 2021. We have heard reports in the past that apparently there will be some type of multiplayer or co-op to it. We just don't know if it's going to be, built into the game itself or if it's going to be like a separate side project. So it seems likely that could be potentially something that this second team is working on. But again, you have to think about these new hires. The two individuals who worked at Ubisoft and worked on games like Rainbow Six, that's their specialty, right? So when you think about that, everything kind of points to whatever this multiplayer project is they're working on being a multiplayer FPS of some sort. And so it would make a lot of sense for it to either be a Killzone game or a Socom reboot. And a lot of people were left asking, why didn't we see this second project at this reveal event? And this could be why. This could be something else that Sony, I should say, I don't know why I keep saying Microsoft, but Sony has been saving in their back pocket. So we could potentially see a situation during this August State of Play, which, again, if we were to see both of these games announced, or even just two big AAA games announced at this State of Play, I think that would definitely be considered a format change for State of Play. We could see the Silent Hill soft reboot announced as a PlayStation 5 exclusive. And on top of that, we could also end up seeing the second game that Guerrilla Games has in the works, and it could be a Socom reboot. One other thing I want to add here before ending this video that does make me believe we could be seeing some type of first-person shooter game at this State of Play or this August event that Sony has planned is because we know that one of the bigger games that is going to show up at this July 23rd event guaranteed is Halo Infinite. And from what we've been hearing, it's going to make a big splash. We're going to see a lot of gameplay. I even heard some people claiming that there might be some kind of beta or something like that, or alpha, just something that people can play, maybe like a like a demo that's going to be dropped that day. So either way, the point is Halo's going to have a big presence at this event, and it's a first-person shooter, and we don't know the launch lineup for the PS5 yet. What we do know is that as of right now, based off of what we do know, Sony doesn't have anything to compete with an FPS, with a competitive multiplayer FPS, or even an FPS with a campaign with Halo Infinite. Now, Sony might not care. They might not be focused on trying to compete with that, but at the same time, this would make sense of why Sony would wait to show off their big first-person shooter, whether it's a Socom reboot or another Killzone, until August. So that way, it'll come after we've already seen the Halo gameplay. So I don't know, guys. That's just me speculating, and I wanted to take time to talk about this because, in my opinion, these are the two most likely, big AAA games to show up at this August event. But it seems like there might be more than that. They are emphasizing that there is third-party stuff that was not shown off. So I don't know what exactly that could be. Maybe Call of Duty. We still haven't seen that, or some other stuff. But yeah, either way, guys, it's extremely exciting because if you're a PlayStation fan, apparently Sony still has some games to announce that they're saving in their back pocket, and it sounds like they're going to be pretty significant. So at this point, I'm going to ask you to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this information. Let me know if you agree or disagree with what I'm saying about Silent Hill and potentially a new Socom or Killzone game. Be sure to leave the video a like if you did enjoy it or found it informative. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.